Hey guys, here I'm doing a quick video on some of the stuff that we'll be using in the residential. For example, here's some receptacles. Here, this happens to be a 20 amp receptacle. How do I know? See that slash right there? That right there, only a 20 amp plug will fit into this right here. So again, if we look right here, kind of hard to tell, but it is a 20 amp receptacle right there. You go down here, this one doesn't have that one right there. So again, that one does. So that is a 20. This one happens to be a 15 amp receptacle. Now this one happens to be tamper proof. If you take a look, it's got those little things inside of here. It's kind of hard to tell again, but they have these things where kids just can't put stuff in there and it protects them from getting shocked. This one right here, if you notice, this one doesn't have it, so this one is not a tamper proof receptacle. Again, 15 amps. It says 15 amps on it, no slash on it, so that is a 15 amp receptacle. Okay, so pretty easy to plug in. Just you have the options to either use the screws, right, to plug in your neutrals and your hots, or you can push the wire into these slots right here. And if you need to take it off, you see these little slots right here on the side of those. I don't know if you can see it right there. That right there. All you do is put a screwdriver inside of that thing, and the wire will be able to come out right there. So, just a good thing to understand. Every time we do our wires, you should always do it clockwise, not counterclockwise. So again, you should whenever you're tightening the wire this way, the screw that way, it will make the wire hold on a lot better right there. So again, that is very important right there. So here we have some four-way switching. Again, one, two screws going in, two screws going out. This happens to be missing the screws, but it only has two screws. So again, two darker screws come in, two copper screws go out right there. So that's how that works out there. So again, your incoming, outgoing. So four-way switch is always going to be in between two three-way switches. So here, this three-way switch, you have one black screw, two lighter screws. Power would come in here. These would travel over to the four-way switch, go out of the four-way switch, and go back into another three-way switch. So again, power comes in, power goes out, and then it can go into another three-way switch right here to this area right here. So that's where it would be going right there. So and then from here, it will go to the light. Single switch, very simple. All you do is bring in your power in, again your hot leg, and your hot leg out goes to the light right there. No neutral goes on this, so only power comes in, power goes out. Okay, so that's how that works out with that right there. Here we have some wires. Again, these are the old type of wires that they used to use. You'll still find some of these in some of the residents or buildings you guys go into. Again, very nasty stuff. They're kind of a pain in the neck to work with, but you guys will see them. If you do notice, again, no grounding. It looks like the grounding, this system had no grounding on it, so it's better to change that out. Here's an old type of switch. Again, it looks kind of ugly looking, so good idea just to change them out, let the customer know. Here you have some 14-3 wire right there. So again, you have your red, your white, your black, and of course your ground always included with that right there. Again, if you notice, it is 14-3. 1, 2, 3. This one is not counted. So 1, 2, 3. That's how we call it 14-3. 14 is the size, the gauge of the wire. This happens to be a 14-2-2. So 14-2-2. So that means that there is a black right here, a white right here. Again, so you have this combination. Then you have a red, and then you have a white with a red stripe. If you see the white with a red stripe. So again, this is for the new code that requires us to have a neutral inside the switches, so it helps out quite a bit with that right there. So again, your grounding are always included with all this. So again, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's 14-2-2. That's how that works right there. So again, it's still 14. The coating, the outer coat is white. Then you have your 12-2. Again, two wires, your black and your white, and your grounding wire right there. And then your 12-3, again, you just add a red right there. This one has a red added to it. Again, and the coating, this one was white, this one was yellow. And the 10-2, again, it's the color would be orange. So those are the common colors that we use in residential. Again, this you can have a 10-3 to add in this right here. All you're adding is a red wire right there. So Very common for us to use those. Here we have some EMT, 1/2 inch EMT, 3/4 EMT, and 1 inch EMT. Again, we use those quite a bit. We run our wires through them. Again, the code has different requirements for wire fill, so how many wires can fit in each one. You would have to take a look at your code, and so that's very important to take a look at all that right there. Again, all these have code fill requirements, which you can find them in the annex, and you can get all that information right there. So here's some Smurfs cable, and then some flex. Again, same thing, wire would go in here, and you would see how many wires you can fit inside with the code. Here we have some breakers. Some breakers, a 15 amp breaker, single pole 15 amp breaker. Then you have a 20 amp single pole breaker. You have a 2-pole 15 amp breaker right there. And here we have a 30 amp 2-pole breaker right there. So these are most likely to be 240, 240, 120, 120. Each one of these will give you 120. These will require 2 wires. And again, that's what you would use. Some of this 12-3, you would get both of these go onto these right here. So here's an Edison Fuse, old style type of fuse, and then some newer type of fuses. This one happens to be a 20 amp fuse. This one happens to be a 35 amp fuse, 15 amp fuse, and this one I'm having a little bit of trouble seeing it, but again, looks like a 5 amp fuse right there. So again, same other wires that come down from the service drop. These are the type of wires that they use up in the service head. So different size wires, different aluminum, copper. You have some MC cable, very common for us to use MC cable. If you notice, it does have that insulated bushing, a code requirement that you do have to have that on there. So again, you'll see this a lot of times. People call them red devils because little tail that comes out right there. So that's a very common for us to use. Some of the boxes, again, a bracket box. Again, this guy anchors right into the wood. So this happens to be a 4S shallow bracket box right there. So that's what we use for a bracket box. These screws right here happen to 832s. And then here you have what's called a deep 4S box. So it's a little bigger. And then here's a 4S shallow box. If you notice, the size, this one is a lot bigger than it, so it's deeper. And then here's a little shallow, so that means that you have more wires that can fit in this right here. But if this is not big enough, then we can go into the 5S box. If you notice how big this guy is, I know it's kind of hard to tell on the video, but this is a lot bigger than this. So this is a 511 box, another name for it, 5S box. Those are boxes, very common boxes that we use. And of course, we do use the plastic boxes. These are nailed in two device type of box, round box for lighting, your old existing type of work box. So again, once it's already existing, you would use these clips right here to tighten them up into the drywall right here. So this will grab into the drywall, the single gang box. Here, the outdoor boxes. These are boxes that we use outdoors whenever we're doing a lot of the work. Again, these get sealed up, so they have these seals right here that you can use. And then of course you have your where your conduit come in. So all these seals are very important that we use them on there right there. So again, so just some examples, some of the stuff that we'll be using in residential. Hopefully that helps out a little bit. Any questions, let me know, and I'll answer as many as I can. All right.